The creators of Eco just released some breaking news about the key features they'll be working on this year. And they're all huge and add a ton of gameplay. And they're things the community has been asking for years. So I'm going to go over all these coming changes and just let your mind get blown. The makers of Eco have set their sights on producing version 1, as they're calling it, the first live version of the game. So Eco is coming out of beta and into its first release. Now to achieve this, they've given a pretty detailed breakdown of the changes and new features they feel they need to have in place. And it sounds like their intention is to make all this happen over the coming year. So let me give you a breakdown of all this information. And first, it's about professions. They're going to add more professions with a lot more options to choose from and paths to take within those skills. Their intention is to create a greater spread of possible careers and more niches for players to specialize in. They're going to create an infinite star spend. Right now, there comes a point when you've spent all the stars you can, and so the need for higher tier food and homes, it dries up. By version 1, they'll have many more ways to spend stars, so there will always be a need for stars no matter how developed the society is. So, this should create a more long-term demand for these core professions, like cooking. Part of this will be the ability to spend stars on talents, which are the upgrade choices you get as you level up. They'll also include branching paths players can choose to create further niches and specialization, as well as spending stars on objects to upgrade them. So I see this as adding a small tree of talents to leverage as you level up, and also associating the upgrade modules we have now with the spending of stars. I love this idea, and I think having more ways to use stars will provide a lot more goals and reasons to play. So I think that's great. They're including a maintenance concept to items. Everything will wear out, and if not maintained, will break over time. This creates a constant need on professions to supply parts and perform repairs on these objects, preventing professions from going obsolete when all the needed objects are produced. This maintenance seems to include more than just machines and tables, but sounds like it will extend to roads and possibly other things like housing. They're adding more upgrades. I didn't quite understand this one, but similar to getting upgrade shovels and pickaxes, they said they'll be analyzing every profession to ensure that upgrades in abilities become available frequently. One example they gave is the intention to produce explosives for mining, allowing much greater bulk collection of ore. I hope these changes don't make things too easy, because I think the game should be hard. And balance between the different skills and these upgrades will also be a challenge, but we'll just have to wait and see. They're making a bunch of changes to the ecosystem and the impact players have on the world. All crafting items will create garbage, which must be dealt with by putting into trash containers, which can then be picked up by a trash service, potentially run by your settlement, funded perhaps from tax dollars. If garbage is left out or left in a can too long, it will begin to pollute the environment. This creates a mechanic that will both impact ecosystem and economy. Right now, as of version 10, polluting is really only limited to a few key specialties. So I think adding some sort of garbage impact to the environment across all the skills is another great improvement to add challenge to the game. There's going to be oil spills, also connected to the maintenance task I just mentioned. It will be possible for pipes to burst when not maintained, and for vehicle transport of oil or other pollutants to spill when driving on unmaintained roads, or an unmaintained vehicle. This creates a scalable difficulty for major disasters, as oil spills will have a disastrous impact on the environment and require a lot of work to clean up. That's what they said. They're also looking into having tainted water affect any housing systems that rely on it. And this last environmental change is awesome. They're adding more end-game disasters. they plan to add more challenges beyond the meteor. Challenges that will arise and face the players over time. They haven't decided exactly what those will be yet, but I've heard them talk about things like volcanoes, where eruptions could cause a lot of damage to the surrounding areas and people, but where the volcano area itself is an optimal place for certain rare resources. I'm anxious to see what they come up with, because I think having a lot more natural disasters is going to be awesome. And now, for one of the more long-awaited and asked-for features is Animal Husbandry. This will be the marquee feature at version 1 launch, and will include raising animals for meat, milk, eggs, wool, as well as pets, which will give a home bonus. All animals in general will get an upgrade as well, making their pathfinding and behaviors more polished. Animal movement got a lot better in version 10, but it sounds like they're still planning some improvements there. I'm a seasoned player of Eco, but I know there can be a significant learning curve to really understand a lot of the basics of the game, like what biome might have what kind of resources. So they're making the initial flow for new users through the tutorial better and more fun. They're also adding in a new outdoor housing decoration bonus, so that you can decorate your space beautifully and get rewarded for it, for making it quaint, a pretty village, whatever. So now all those outdoor flower pots, ashlar benches, and nicely paved driveways should do more than just look good. This also explains the recent peculiar removal of why certain lamps stopped working when you put them outside. I think it was all in preparation for making those items actually contribute to this new outdoor decoration scheme. They're also adding an ability to do off-grid placement, which they described as being able to place an item on surfaces like tables and shelves to decorate your space in greater detail. And I also believe these items will ignore the occupation of an entire voxel, which is what I think they meant by off-grid. They even mentioned it allowing you to host a dinner party with placed food to provide a cultural reward. As they progress to this version 1 release, they're going to integrate a kind of voting system so that players can vote on things that they feel are the most important or will have the most impact. They'll still be making choices on what to work on, but it sounds like they want to involve more of the community more broadly, which I think is always a good thing. They're also planning on expanding the current culture system, because it is new with version 10. And like any new system, it requires some honing and tuning to really dial it in and keep it balanced with everything else going on in the game. One more little thing they threw in as bonus information was that they're planning on working on trains. But this one they decided to postpone a little bit until after version 1 goes live, and keep their focus on doing the animal husbandry as their big feature. They said all this, except trains, is coming in the next year. And from the way they talked about it, it sounded like that it was this calendar year. So we might get all these changes and new features in time for the next holiday break, which would be fantastic. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this update about the latest in Eco news. Subscribe to the channel to hear a lot more about Eco and other games. And I'll be talking to you later.